And we are live on a Tuesday. It is 8 o'clock, so you're rolling with Billy Allen and the fellas. We got Justin, Alex, and Frank lined up. And we've got a pretty good buffet of sports topics tonight. We're chomping down on the Pats, bringing in Lamar Miller. Alex Verdugo is swinging a hot bat. The Celtics firmly entrenched in the third spot, playing like they had something at stake tonight and hurting the Grizzlies' chances as the Suns are 7-0. And the Bruins playoffs starts tonight. We'll see if the team that has been kind of skating through and treating everything as an exhibition can flip on the switch, and we'll see what they look like. But gentlemen, I think we got to start with the Pats bringing in Lamar Miller. What does this mean for the team? What does this mean for the position? And what does this mean for Sony Michel? Who wants to take it?
I think it's the time for Sony Michel to pack his bags, hopefully. It's led to the draft pick that no one was really happy with. Could have had Nick Chubb. We chose Sony Michel, a guy with a bad knee at Georgia. He wasn't even the best running back on the team. His rookie year, obviously, he did a really good job, but that also helped with a good offensive line and Gronk and a fullback walking, open those holes in for him. But last year we saw without Gronk blocking, without the fullback, he is pretty much has no moves. He can't really hit the hole that fast. So we'll see. Lamar Miller had ACL injury last year, so we're gonna have to see if he's back to 2018 Lamar Miller, almost 5,000 yards, or if this guy is over the hill.
Yeah, I'm glad he's gone. Good riddance. Get out of here. I mean, it's happening soon. I know it hasn't officially happened yet, but Sony's days are numbered. Yes, he was unbelievable during that postseason run. I mean, he literally set a record, did he not, with 6 touchdowns in the postseason for a running back rushing? I mean, that was some really impressive stuff out of Sony, but I think his best days are gone. His days are numbered, and Pat's uniform are numbered. Lamar Miller is probably here for the next 2-3 years as our starter.
You pay Burkhead and you pay Bolden because they play special teams, and okay, fair enough. And then you draft in the 2nd and 3rd round capital, and you've lost pick because of scandals, and you take a running back, one with no knees, the second best running back on his team in college in the 1st round. And I just don't understand. And Damian Short, I think, is good, by the way. But they don't play him, and they didn't think he was good, or he would have been on the field. I firmly believe that because Belichick's just that type of guy. If Lamar Miller's good, great. He's perfect if he's back to what he was, but usually it takes 2 years before you're back to what you were, unless you're Adrian Peterson or that type of player. But I hope it does work because I'd like to see Sony Michel gone. He is a terrible, terrible running back. He's not an NFL running back. He's Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis. And we didn't spend a pick on that. And for the record, Lamar Miller might be Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis with the ability to catch, but he can be viable, and he's minimum dollars, and that's a Belichickian move. Taking a running back in the 2nd and 3rd round, one of which you didn't let see the field, is not a good move.
Yeah, I think we're seeing Belichick pick guys off the scrap heap. I think this is another guy, Lamar Miller. He's, pretty versatile, and he's a guy that catches the ball pretty well. He's caught the ball at least 25 times every year that he's played, actually. And he was a Pro Bowler the last year. And I think, he makes a lot of exciting plays in the air. And they really don't have a guy that's been able to stay healthy, that's been able to make plays in the air. Rex Burkhead's probably been the best guy of being a dual threat. And the other guys, it's pretty much like when Michel's in, they're going to run. When James White is in, they're going to pass. And the Pats hate to be that type of team. So I think Lamar Miller, it's a good sign that he came in, they worked him out, they signed him. Usually that's a pretty good sign for the Pats when they pick you up, So it's a low risk, high reward. And it seems like Sony Michel isn't going to start the season either. It seems like he's on the PUP list. So, even if it isn't his performance, it's going to be his health. But Julian Edelman was interviewed, and he said Tom Brady's a friend, but Cam Newton is the most intriguing player for the Patriots, and really talking about what Cam Newton can do on this offense. As we look towards it, guys, do you think Cam Newton is going to be I'll throw this to Alex first. Do you think Cam Newton's going to be starting? And how intriguing can this offense be with Cam?
Well, obviously, excuse me. Sorry, forgot to unmute. Well, obviously, I was wrong. Cam Newton absolutely is going to be the starter, but I am right. Cam Newton is absolutely not making it through this season. He will get hurt. He will get benched, and Jared Stidham will be our starter.
Not a chance. And the offense is going to be exciting, by the way. I think we've said it on the show before, but it's going to be something like that Jacoby Brissett thing, but with a quarterback that's 10 times as good. I'll tell you one thing that didn't make me feel good. In his interview the other day, his first one, he said, he was asked if the season started today, would you be ready to go? And he said, well, luckily it doesn't start today. We have more time. Great, and I hope he's talking about the playbook. But if he's talking about health, now we're starting to question whether or not he's got anything left in the tank. I think even old Cam Newton has a good enough arm to be a viable starting quarterback in this league when you have Bill Belichick coaching him up if he's healthy. If he's not healthy, this is not going to work, and he will not finish the season. But I have to think that we signed him for a reason.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Frank. Honestly, I was so scared when he started out saying that. If somebody asks you how you're doing health-wise, you don't say, well, I've got a couple months, don't I? It's kind of like, are you healthy now? And to hear that he's may not be fully healthy, and he was talking about being ready at any point during the season. Do comments like that make you guys think that Stidham could, in fact, be the starter? Or do you think that this is definitely 100% Cam Newton's job rolling in?
I feel
this is not. I don't think Cam Newton is referring to him not being start. I think it's him coming into a whole new organization and offense and learning it on the fly without OTAs. He's literally trying to play with his receivers, just playing catch. He's not doing any specific drills against any defenses. He's literally trying to learn this offense on the go. And on top of that, the Patriots are trying to change the entire offensive scheme to fit his playing ability. It's not like Tom Brady sitting back in the pocket and getting out quick. It's a completely different offense now. I think the Pats wouldn't have signed him if he wasn't fully healthy. I think it's more to do with him being ready for the team. And I think what's weird with Edelman saying that is, if today was the starting season, who would you rather have? He would say Tom Brady in a heartbeat. It's just him trying to back his new starting quarterback and assure the fans that they're in a good position with Cam Newton, not Tom Brady.
Do you think there's anything to be made out of the fact that Tom Brady made Julian Edelman? Do you think Julian Edelman puts up that type of production without anybody else but Tom Brady? Or do you think that, I guess, how do you think he'll perform this year? And do you think that he was mostly a product of Tom Brady?
I don't think you can really give Edelman a full product of Tom Brady title. It's not like he's some bum running back, that we've just stuck in there to run for 4 touchdowns in one game and then got rid of as soon as he messed up. He's done quite a bit in that uniform. Super Bowl MVP, yes. I don't think he has I could see him in that Adam Thielen. I don't know. You just don't see many white receivers as good as what Edelman's done. He's built his game off quickness, and it's been incredible to see what he's been able to do out there. Some guys even credit him to be a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL, and Thielen, Jordy Nelson, guys like that are there. You don't see much of that, so it's exciting. That he had such a great career. I don't think it's all on Tom Brady. I think he worked his ass off and got him on the field and took that position from Wes Welker, made Belichick phase out Welker. You got to give all the props in the world to Edelman.
He is way more like Welker than Thielen. Thielen's a much better receiver than Edelman could ever hope to be, and I love Edelman. And Edelman doesn't have great regular season numbers, and he's probably not getting into the Hall of Fame. But he's squeezed the maximum amount of juice out of his orange because he's not all that athletic or talented, and that's the deal. And he has made the absolute most of that in tremendous form. Great postseason player, and I guess that counts for something, but it's just not enough for his case for Hall of Fame. But I think he's great. I don't think he's a product of Tom Brady, but I think he's absolutely a product of he needed an elite quarterback. Just like Welker with the Rams. It wasn't going to work. You need a Tom Brady, a quarterback that can throw these option routes, Peyton Manning, just like Brandon Stokely. They need a quarterback and a system before they can be all that they can be because they're slot guys. And they don't win one-on-one without quickness, and those are short yardage routes and option routes.
I'm 50-50 on this one because I love Edelman. Everything he's done, he is one of my favorite Patriots of all time, and especially in the playoffs, he's been probably one of the biggest playoff players during this dynasty run. However, I do think it has to do with the system that he was in at the beginning. Now more so, he can become. If he went to another team, he would still have a good, solid production. I just think when everyone classifies him in the realm of top 10, he's probably top 10 in drops every single year. Like, he doesn't have great hands. He's great at catching the ball on either a slot route or an in cut and he's great at getting yards after catch. I wouldn't say he's a great receiver per se when we're putting the receivers top 10 that have amazing hands that can catch it, unbelievable catches all the time. I don't see Edelman as that type of receiver.
I mean, disagreement with you. He's definitely, having 100 catch seasons. It's like you got to be very, very good at catching the football. So even in the Patriots offense, yes, this is a fantastic offense. Give them every opportunity to maximize their skills. Which is why, obviously, you're going to make the target one out of the top product of the system there too. It's I think
Yeah, and I think you kind of see Edelman almost clamoring for Cam Newton to be the quarterback there too. It seems like he's kind of all the way through his Instagram posts or through whatever it's been. He's kind of done what it is to make it a point that he wants Cam Newton there. And I guess there's two schools of thought for me. I mean, I'm thinking that Cam Newton isn't that a very accurate quarterback to be able to make the throws to Edelman, but at the same time, I'm thinking that in the last year of Norv Turner's offense, he was able to throw like 67% of his passes. He was able to complete over 83% of his passes to tight ends and the running back. So will he be able to do that with a guy in the slot? I don't know. I guess that's a question for me. What do you guys think about Edelman's production this year as it compares to his other best seasons?
70 catches, under 1,000 yards.
Say about 900 yards, maybe probably around that, 70 catches. I'd say even less, maybe, maybe like 855 receptions. Like, They might save him.
So you guys are doubting Justin?
Aaron Johnson had 45 catches, so no, Edelman will have more than 55 catches. That's a ridiculous statement.
I still think Edelman's going to be up there in the 80s, or I don't think he's going to drop into the 70s. I mean, I think he gets so many catches a game. He's old.
You have to also think that last year defenses focused solely on Edelman. Have we improved our offense in the offseason with receivers?
Yes, and running backs now.
How have we improved our receivers or tight ends? We haven't. We've drafted 2 tight ends, and our receivers are exactly.
Harry's healthy. Sanu is healthy. They should be better. Neither one is great, but they're good wide receivers. They'll work in the system. Edelman works in the system. James White works in the system. We have nothing at tight end unless one of these kids can play, and I don't know if they can.
How many yards do you think N'Keal Harry gets this year?
I think N'Keal Harry gets around 600 yards and like 8 touchdowns.
That's a good prediction.
Yeah, I think that's a great. Honestly, I think I'd hate to, we hate to in radio we hate to all agree, but I think that's like right on par with what he's going to be
doing.
doing.
I also think Edelman gets like 700 yards, close to 75, 80 catches. I don't think he'll be nearly as productive, not necessarily because of him, but just because of the offense that he's in. This isn't the same offense. This is going to be a completely different offense, and it's not going to be a lot of setting back 5 wide receiver shotgun passes. It's going to be trick plays. I think he'll get a lot of yards with those throwing at the line and screen passes. I don't see Edelman being a Pro Bowler this year. I think he's going to have a productive season. And it's nothing against him. It's just the system they're going to be in and the quarterback they have. It's completely different than what it was with the Patriots.
Which is why I think Larry's more than just 600 yards and 8 touchdowns. I think he's going to have probably 1,000 touchdowns, I would assume, depending on who's throwing the football. having a pretty good year. And then you've also got those two young tight ends are kind of X factor. What's going to happen? Are they going to be good? Is this strong? Hernandez? No, but how good will these guys be?
So
I honestly think they're going to be pretty good, the tight ends. They seem to be pretty bullish on them. They haven't done too much to shore up the areas behind them, and they traded up to get them. And, I mean, I think you never know, but I think they're putting a lot in these young guys, and I think they're pretty talented. For the Pats to take guys in the third round and to trade up, that's something that they never do. So I'm thinking that there's going to be some pretty good production there. You guys mentioned that you think the offense is going to change a bit. I'm curious to think what you guys think. Who's going to develop? We all say that Sony Michel is maybe out of town. Who do you think is ultimately going to develop as a back? They've got Rex Burkhead, James White. They've got Damian Harris, AJ Taylor, and they put Lamar Miller into the mix. Who do you think is going to be the best back to come out of that this year?
Lamar, hands down, Lamar. I mean, he's coming off an ACL injury, but the talent he showed, not one other running back on this roster has his level of talent. Like Lamar Miller at his best, he's explosive. I mean, we'll see how much he comes back from that injury, but I mean, he is good. He can catch, he can hit the hole, he can run inside, outside. The guy's very good, and he was just very explosive. I remember I watched a game last year where Deshaun Watson QB sneaked 3 times from inside the 3-yard line, and Lamar Miller was pissed in the backfield, just like, why is he not giving me the ball? Because they stopped Deshaun Jackson twice. I think Lamar's a beast. Like, you got to give him the ball. He's going to be a very good player for this offense, especially with a mobile quarterback like Cam Newton at quarterback.
I wish it was Burkhead, because I'm a big Burkhead fan. I think he's the best talented, like in terms of passing, catching, and blocking on the team. And maybe Lamar Miller might be better at catching, but one guy I wish that would progress more than anyone is Damian Harris. And I only say that because if you watched, I'm not saying Lamar Jackson and Cam Newton are the same, but if you watched last year when they would do the fake pitches or the fake handoffs to Mark Ingram, who I think is more of a similar running back to Damian Harris than any other running back on our team, the ability to get to the hole quick, and he's a power running back. I think he would have. I wish they would play him more.
He can catch. He's a power running back who can catch.
Newton, honestly.
Gotta love Damian Harris. I did coming out of Alabama. I don't know. I know their running backs don't usually pan out. But Ingram's done well. Henry did well. So hopefully that we can buck that trend. But if Lamar Miller's healthy, if he comes back from the ACL in that short amount of time and he can be healthy, it's probably him. But the highest upside, I disagree with you, Alex. I think it's got to be Damian Harris because I think he's better in short yard situations, and I think he can also catch. I also here to gather he's a better blocker. I know Lamar Miller can't block. He couldn't do it in Miami against us. He couldn't do it for the Houston Texans. And for as good as we think he is, he also was so good that they traded a first-round pick for David Johnson, who's also washed up. They thought David Johnson was less washed up than they think he is. So there's also that.
That's more of an indictment on how bad they are, just how bad what's his face is down there. But I mean, Bill O'Brien is just a clown. How much money are they going to pay Deshaun Watson after that con? I mean, they're probably going to pay him
$180 million
after this.
180 million.
How high is the salary cap?
Bill O'Brien being a terrible GM aside, I just wonder. They kind of said the Pats this year, you guys are all kind of bullish on Damian Harris, and I hear that, but I also feel like they kept saying they didn't give him a shot because, there was too many other running backs on the team. And I just feel like if somebody is talented, you find a way to get him in there. Like if he had shown in practice that he could do it, was he just hurt all season or?
He was hurt at the beginning of the year. I think he's more similar to Sony Michel than any other running back on the team. And after Sony Michel's great rookie year, they wanted to go with Sony Michel last year. I think he obviously started out slow because he was hurt, and then it's weird that he never even really dressed. He was like a practice squad guy for a 3rd-round pick. That's kind of crazy. But I don't know. I think that he can be good. We saw him at Alabama. He was good, and like Frank said, not all Alabama running backs are good. I mean, look at Trent Richardson, who was an absolute nightmare. But
looked great at the combine all time. Combine.
That's just another great Browns pick.
Most athletic guy in the draft.
Browns know how to draft, man. They really do. Him and Manziel are partying up somewhere. But Yeah, I think Dame Harris could be good. Again, Lamar Miller, I hope he's good. I don't. How come no one else signed him if it's like a steal? It's kind of like the Cam Newton thing. If he's just sitting there,
Because the Pats are smarter than everyone else. They wait until, there's good veterans lying around that don't have homes. They scoop them up for cheap. Like, how did someone else not take a chance on Cam Newton? It's the same thing. It's like Pats. They're just opportunists. They Belichick he is unbelievable. And
How do they know that Cam Newton was going to sit, though? Do you think they were just going to take whatever quarterback got through, or do you think that it
I
was?
think Belichick thinks that he can win with Hoyer. I think Belichick thinks that he could win with you. I think he's got an ego that goes with the amount of greatness that he's accomplished in the league. I have no doubt about that, and I've never met the man.
I will say one thing about the Pats picking up a veteran though. Every offseason they pick up one or two veterans for like minimums. Did they ever make it out of training camp? Most times they don't. They kind of like phase out. Look at all the receivers we've gotten over the years that like, oh, let's get Brandon Wayne or Ocho Cinco. They're on a good deal. Who was that? The defensive tackle guy from the Titans? Hainsworth. It's like every year we get these veterans that come in and most of them don't pan out. It's like low risk, high reward. But again, we're going to have to see.
Yeah, we certainly will. I mean, let's flip the page to the MLB a little bit. I think one thing that we've seen come out of this week is Alex Verdugo. And I wonder after that game or 2 days where he puts up 3 home runs over 2 days, 2 home runs in one of the games, they were talking to him afterwards and asking if he kind of thinks about Mookie, and he's like, no, I'm not trying to replace Mookie. And Alex Verdugo sure has come on and been playing really strong here. Do you think he makes Andrew Benintendi expendable? Do you think the Red Sox are ultimately going to trade for Andrew Benintendi for some pitching, or what are you guys kind of looking at as far as the early season returns?
Oh, let's look at Benintendi's stats so far this year. Has he have 3 hits yet? I think the last time we checked,
I think he's still got 2.
What Verdugo is doing is he's replacing him because they're literally the same exact player. They're both 15 home run guys that can hit close to 300. They both can get like 10 to 15 steals, but you can't have 2 of those players in your outfield. I think the Red Sox are going to be sellers. Is there even a trade deadline? I don't even know. But if there is, one guy that I potentially could see being moved is JD Martinez because he has an opt-out next year, and you could get a good amount for them. Let's face it, I don't see him coming back next year, and if you can get a good starting pitcher, a young starting pitcher for him, I'm all about that because this team is absolute garbage. I still haven't watched an inning yet, by the way, but I look at the box scores every night, and Benintendi still sucks.
Yeah, through osmosis, you just know that Benintendi sucks. I mean, yeah, Benintendi has had a terrible year, and I think Alex Verdugo is absolutely that. A guy who's a little bit younger, plays a lot like Benintendi. So why not try to take Benintendi and get some pitching for him? Mitch Moreland, a guy that's been really productive for the Red Sox. He's got 6 home runs, 10 RBIs. He's looked absolutely outstanding. I think he's hitting 323 through the first however many games here. But what are you guys' thoughts about him? You think he can keep it up? You think this is a potential all-star campaign for Mitch Moreland?
Yes. Mitch Moreland is the exact type of player you expect to capitalize on the current situation in baseball. The player aptly nicknamed Mitchie Two Bags. He's great at extra base hits. He did this in Texas. He's a little weird. He's a little quirky, but if you get him into your lineup, he'll knock it over the fence. He won't always bat for a high average. Sometimes he will. Sometimes he really won't. And sometimes he can't field the ball despite being, a middle of the line fielder. But he can hit the ball. And right now, pitchers are a little erratic. They're having trouble locating. And if you're a guy like Mitch Moreland, you're going to get that out of the park like softball.
Mitch Moreland, I love Mitch Moreland. He's exactly what you signed up for, right? He's going to hit 20 home runs if this is a regular season. He'll probably finish the year this year, maybe around 280, so that's not a full season. But thinking back to his All-Star campaign a couple years ago, he hit like a bunch of home runs. He was hitting close to 300. Then he just kind of, he's a great first half of the season player. Then kind of at the end of the season doesn't come through, but he's a great defensive first baseman, great locker room guy, and you're paying him $4 million or $6 million. He's exactly what you need. And imagine if you played at Yankee Stadium, he'd probably be hitting 30 home runs. He's like, the Yankees don't have a first baseman. They had him. Like, that would solve a lot of things for them.
Gary Sanchez will be their first baseman moving forward because he can't catch. Right now he can't hit, but eventually that guy's a first baseman. So they need to keep that spot open.
He's going to be the lowest hitting first baseman in the AL for a while, I guess. Then is that guy batting his weight yet? No. I mean, what is that guy batting? One something. I mean,
I have him on my fantasy team. He has 1 home run this year and 3 hits.
Wow.
Started out hot.
A Benintendi-like start for him.
At least he has a home run.
Well, that's our little baseball minute there. I think ultimately we want to get to the NBA. And I think we have to start out, obviously, around the league. The Suns have been hotter than hot, 7-0. Devin Booker with a 35-point outing, again today, and beating a Suns scoring record. Guys, the Suns are 7-0. I mean, there's really not a whole lot more we can say about this. What are your thoughts on this team like the Suns being so dominant in the bubble on the early going?
This is very, very good for basketball. This is very, very good for basketball. DeAndre Ayton is also a stud. But Devin Booker, I've had to eat a lot of crow on this. Devin Booker is, in fact, showing himself to be a superstar. Despite what I've said before in the past, this guy is showing himself to be a legitimate superstar. Game-winning shots, he's been clutch, he's been consistent. And we're going to talk about the Bubble team later. He's absolutely on it. And deservedly so. And the rest of the team, they look like they're having fun. They have a young coach in Monty Williams who's been through a lot, been around the league as a player and as a coach, and you just love to see the environment they're playing with. They look, and nowhere near as talented, don't get me wrong, but they look reminiscent of early Golden State with Mark Jackson, where they just seem to be having a lot of fun, seem to be playing the right way. They have a couple of superstars, and he shot the ball from like 40 feet the other day, a regular shot, not even a heave. He's just fantastic to watch, and I hate to say that, because I thought he was a loser, but as it turns out, he was not. And you'd like to see him continue it for a whole season. It says just in the bubble, he hasn't been able to sustain this, but if he does, I mean, he's been excellent. And the Suns have been incredibly exciting, and you love to see that. The Memphis Grizzlies absolutely nosediving is fantastic. It's a side plot in this, but the real story should be how great the Suns are playing, not the rapid tailspin of the Memphis Grizzlies.
I will admit when I'm wrong. I was wrong on him, but I will say he's proving his point that he's a great bubble player. I'd like to see him out of the bubble, and if they continue, I saw that him and Kendall Jenner are kind of going back and forth on Instagram. You start dating a Jenner, your career goes down the drain pretty quick. So let this run for a little bit. Once a Jenner comes in there, kiss it goodbye. And they're right back to the good old Suns losing every game by 50.
Not happening. James Johnson has come in and completely revamped that organization. I would say, I don't know if you can call it a mistake because TJ Warren didn't play because he didn't feel right last season. But the fact that the Suns traded him for cash is like the only blemish I've seen on their record, because James Johnson has built a team that's pretty deep, like 10 players you can put out there on an NBA court and have hold their own deep. And I just think that this Suns team is only going to get better and better. Devin Booker's a stud. He was saying Kobe's with him every game. Well, it looked like it. Kobe's up there smiling, watching Devin Booker play right now. And the rest of that roster, I mean, it's young, it's exciting. Kelly Oubre coming in, playing a big part. You got DeAndre Ayton, who is an absolute freak. The Suns team's here to stay. I definitely think that Young Warriors 5, Frank, was pretty on point.
Let's not forget the all-time 2K player, Dario Saric.
Oh,
lighting it up.
Yeah.
I'm a big Saric guy.
Yeah, Saric.
But then they also have all of Australia with Aaron Baines. They have 1 or 2 more pieces. And Ricky Rubio, for what he is, he's kind of been a bust. Thinking like what he got drafted so high, and he was coming into the league. He was supposed to be this great thing, which Doncic came in the league, and he actually, was that player right off the bat. I think he's a good point guard for this team. He's a great passer, and you get the ball in the players' hands like Ayton and Booker. They get another. I think they get a good power forward and maybe another small forward. I think this team could, next year maybe be a six seed team in the West.
Ricky Rubio's been perfect for this team. He's been able to get Devin Booker off the ball a little bit, which is his more natural position. Much like Eric Snow, who guards twos, but you needed to bring him in because Allen Iverson is not going to make other people better necessarily. Devin Booker has done that in the bubble, but has never done that in his career. And Ricky Rubio has always done that. He's, got that Jason Kidd in him, even though he can't really shoot, doesn't really have all the other assets. He can get other guys involved in an NBA game. He's been able to do it since he was 19. That's all I've got to say.
Wasn't Booker the point guard last year for the Suns?
Basically,
Yeah.
Basically by default, yeah.
Yeah, now it's good. Like they have him off the ball, and Rubio's getting the ball. That changes things, obviously. The only guy it actually has worked out for last year, Harden, was the point guard, and I mean he was putting up like triple doubles every game. But as we saw in the playoffs,
Working for Luka, worked for LeBron too.
Yeah, but last year, if there's no other players around him, it's kind of hard. Last year they didn't have anybody else really.
Literally no one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think Justin's saying Harden's, not in that top category there with Luka and LeBron, right?
Yeah, because Harden
Because,
sucks.
Harden is tough to like because he's got a 50% usage rate, and that just doesn't work in the playoffs. He's just too spent. I think you guys make a good point when you come to how good Ricky Rubio has been. When they did that trade with Mike Conley, I mean, you thought definitely Mike Conley was the better part in that trade, and he's definitely really tailed off with his production since that's been done. I'd say didn't think Mike Conley was going to tail off so much, especially after he signed such a big contract.
Yeah, it's a tough trade, tough trade for the Grizzlies, but they're looking good anyway.
So we flirted with it a little bit, but we're talking about some of the all bubble team here. And when I think of it, there's some obvious names like Dame Lillard. We talked about Booker. Who are some of the other names out there, guys, that you think deserve being on the all bubble team?
TJ Warren.
TJ Warren's been excellent. He's been absolutely excellent. You got to throw him on there. I'd like to see Porzingis on there. What I'm really happy about him is that he's being aggressive. He's getting to the free throw line. You like to see that. The guy's 7'2". If he can move laterally and sustain that without getting injured, then he's going to be a perfect complement to Luka, who's an above, not a great defender, but above average size at point guard. And you match that with a big man 7'2" who can shoot with that type of range. He can shoot from 27 feet. And right now he's putting the ball on the floor and he's making plays, and you like to see that from Porzingis a year removed from his injury.
You got to put Bol in there. Bol, put him at center, the all bubble team.
No one loves Bol more than Justin.
I love
No one loves Bol
Oh
more
my
than
God. That guy can do everything. He honestly, at this point, he could save people from a burning house. This guy can do everything. He can dribble, he can pass, he can shoot,
I've
he can
heard
block.
enough of Bol.
His highlights are unbelievable.
No, he does look pretty damn good.
If you want like most improved player, if they had that, it'd be Michael Porter Jr. because he's honestly like come onto the scene and just like tore it up.
I'd put Michael Porter Jr. on my all bubble team right now. You guys see what he's doing? It's unbelievable. Double every night, walking, dishing out assists. He's hell of a player.
That's crazy that they just be able to add an all-star like that to their team. I mean, that's like we talked about last week. If the Pistons were able to add Carmelo Anthony, but instead they added Darko Milicic, it's a team that we look at the number 2, number 3 seed, and they just add Michael, and it's just been.
If that Nuggets team stays together, come on, right?
Yeah, that team is a young team too.
It's scary. I would liken that to probably a better version of what Boston has going right now with our young collection of stars.
Straight up, whose talent would you rather have?
Straight up, if Michael Porter Jr. is for real, I'd probably take the Nuggets right now. Jokic is wild. You've got.
It's only going to last for a couple more years, though. They have so many players that they're probably going to have to pay, and not only that, they're going to be in their prime. And you're going to have to pay Porter Jr. Probably second year, so he's got 3 more years.
Luxury tax.
Have they paid Murray? Have they paid Jokic yet?
They paid Murray. They gave Murray like the a bigger contract than Jaylen Brown got, actually.
Yeah, and that's just silly. But they have, like, Millsap will probably be, and he hasn't even been that much of a factor. I mean, you honestly could think about Porter Jr. potentially playing a 3/4 in the small ball basketball right now in the future of this team. Put Gary Harris potentially at the shooting guard, or who else? They have Beasley. They also have I'm forgetting the other shooting guard that they have. Regardless, this team's really deep, and they potentially next year could push for one of those top 3 seeds in the West.
Definitely. There's no doubt about it. If Michael Porter Jr. keeps this up, that was their one missing piece was a great wing. And Porter Jr. is here to fill that void, and I don't think he's going anywhere for a long time. Breaks my heart the Celtics didn't trade up to get him. Breaks my heart. Imagine him with the Celtics team, him coming on strong. I think Robert Williams, though, with the Celtics is a guy that also is going to have a coming out party very soon.
You look at him as a guy that we talked about last week needed some minutes, and boy, did he get them. After we talked about him, they went 7 for 7. He went 7 for 7 in a game, put up 18, 5 boards. We saw him have 3 blocks before halftime tonight. I think he is absolutely a guy that they have to inject into that lineup if they're going to have success against bigs. They locked in the 3rd spot. They're going to be going against the 76ers, Raptors, and Bucks, 3 teams with a lot of size. He's going to have to play and get some minutes, and he's going to have to play at center so that you can spell some of those other guys. Like Daniel Tice, he's 6'8" when it comes down to it. I mean, at the end of the day, anytime he's playing the center spot, he's outmatched, especially, from a defensive standpoint. He's been able to be pretty good offensively, but they're going to need Robert Williams in a big way. And I think they're going to need him to play like close to, I think they're going to need him to play 15, 18 minutes a night in the playoffs.
I almost want to see him more. I look at him and I just see a young defensive, potential, all pro, all NBA guy. He has that type of defensive talent. The way he swats shots, have you seen that video where he swatted Anthony Davis? He's got a lot of those in his bag. He's young. He's just getting better, and he's just learning to play. He looks so good defensively right now. Offensively, anything he gives you is a plus. I mean, the talent's all there. I think it's all lining up for him to fit seamlessly into this team and be our starting center for a long time.
I think also the thing that helps him right now is he's in the bubble, and the only thing they can do right now is play basketball. There's no distractions. There's no, him going out.
He can't be late.
Yeah,
he can't be late.
All he can do is play basketball, and honestly, that's a guy that needs that type of mentality of this is just basketball down here, and you tell that it's panning out. He's gonna have to play, like you said, at least 18 minutes a game to make difference, especially against some of those like the Raptors per se. Even the Bucks, you can have them come in and hack Giannis a couple times, send him to the line.
Not hack, block Giannis, stuff Giannis.
I wouldn't mind either because Giannis can't hit a freaking free.
Don't get ridiculous.
He will stuff Giannis.
He will stuff Giannis Antetokounmpo. It will happen.
The only guy stuffing him is Taco.
Nate Robinson blocked so weird things have happened.
For that to happen. Go ahead, Frank.
No, shorter people have blocked taller people. It's happened, but I doubt it.
Nate Robinson
blocked Yao. That was the most incredible timing that's ever happened.
Yeah, it's happened. So I'm not going to be shocked if he gets a block on him, but he's not going to regularly shut down Giannis. That's not the case. I do think kind of the book on Giannis, we already said, is to foul him, is to throw out as many guys as you can that are willing to take that foul. Grant Williams is also undersized. Robert Williams is also undersized. He's 6'9". But if he can rebound, if he can get double-digit rebounds in whatever minutes he's given, he'll be fine because that's all we need from him.
Give him the beast, Ojale. Stick him in there and just hack him. The guy that can do one-handed push-ups. Throw him in there. Throw everybody in there. Every big guy, just hack him and hack him and hack him. Make his life miserable like it was for Jordan in the old days.
Use all your fouls.
Every time he goes to the hoop, hack him. So he doesn't want to go to the hoop anymore. Make him a shooter.
We talked about this last week too. He's got to see a different guy every time. You put Marcus Smart on him one time, then you put Ojale on him the next time, then you put Tatum on. I mean, you you do something where you just keep making him see different bodies, and you use Ojale for 25 minutes in that game against the Bucks. We're not used to seeing Ojale for that many minutes, but you have a guy like him just ride Giannis. That's going to slow Giannis down for sure.
Ojale has looked good from three though so far since the bubble started. I don't know if his shot. I don't know what his percentage is right now. I'm going to check on his bubble percentage and get back to the group.
He's not a guy that I'm going to feel confident though when he winds up from three.
No, but if you look at Ojale, what his game is, honestly, it's that corner three, and he plays decent defense. He kind of like a poor man's version of PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker only hits threes from the corner. He doesn't do anything else, but he plays great defense. He doesn't shoot anything else but corner threes. If Ojale can hit 2 of those a game and play some decent defense, that's a good bench player for like 8-10 minutes a game.
Yeah, guys. Colin Cowherd this week had said that he puts Dame Lillard in the top 10 NBA players and was really going off on him. I'm curious where you guys put Dame Lillard, especially with this bubble run.
Firmly in the top 10. Anyone else?
I could probably make an argument if you'd make me, but I'd have to write it down because I do think he's right up there. And he's another guy who hasn't won anything yet, except for he had that one big shot against, I believe it was the Spurs. Correct me if I'm wrong. He did break up that Paul George, Russell Westbrook team. He did break that up all by himself, and he waved them off the court, so good for him. He's exciting. I do like Dame Lillard. I think he's a little too small. I think very few teams win NBA championships with their best player being a score-first, undersized point guard. He's generously listed at 6'3". He looks much shorter than other guys. He's looked shorter than Patrick Beverley, who's 6'1". So, I mean, he's just – I don't know that he could ever be the best player on a championship team, but he can be the second best player. And right now, he probably is a top 10 player.
Well, if you put Dame on the Celtics team, he'd be the best player in the Celtics, and I think that team could win an NBA championship. And they don't give video game covers to guys who are outside of the top 10. No, they give them to the top 5 guys. And right now,
Paul Pierce
my just got destroyed. I'm out.
He's like a heat-seeking missile to your point.
Never hate on Peyton.
Jesus.
That guy was Mike Allstott on steroids for one season. Give him
Just
the ball.
Straight up the middle every time, got brutalized. You knew it couldn't work because that guy took like 25 tackles from middle linebackers a game. Like, it was brutal. But I mean, I feel like he lasted for half a year in the 1 year that he was even good. But I mean, you gotta love it.
I say Dame Lillard's borderline top 10, probably on the positive side of the top 10. There's not many point guards in the league that are in the top 10, I don't think. It's more the shooting guards, small forwards, power forwards, and Davis, whatever he is, power forward, center. But it's incredible to watch, and he's honestly everybody's top 3 favorite player in the NBA just because of how he plays. He doesn't want to leave Portland.
He's got ball.
Yeah, exactly. He calls other all-star players out for leaving their teams. He stuffs it in their face like he did Paul George and Russell Westbrook. He's everything you want on your franchise player.
Is he not the best point guard in the NBA right now? I mean, obviously Curry with the resume. Maybe some would say Kyrie with the talent, Russ with the heart, but Lillard, he's the full package. Is he not?
You could definitely make an argument.
Yeah,
you could make an argument for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think Russell Westbrook's up there. I think he's better than Russell Westbrook.
I do as well. I think he's better than Kyrie as well. The only person I can't look at and say he's better than is Steph. If Steph comes back in shape, I mean, as we know, he'll be in shape. But like, if he doesn't have any injury problems or setbacks, I mean, I feel like that title is almost going to go right back to Steph. We're going to get reminded of who the real king is of the point guards.
Is Doncic a point guard, or is he just a mixed position?
He's a point guard.
Shooting
point guard.
I think Doncic is the best point guard in the league.
Luka Doncic is a point guard. He's born to pass. He's got the gift of playmaking. He's absolutely a point. You can't call him anything else. It's not like he's a point forward. He dribbles the ball up the court. He's like tall Pistol Pete. I hate to bring up the reference into just make the white guy comparison, but boy, is he excited! And I know, but they're both exciting, and they're both incredibly good at passing. They both have that gift. They're incredibly exciting, but they're absolutely classified as a point guard. I'm sorry to run over you.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's kind of crazy to think now how this league's changed. There aren't that many. When you kind of think of the point guards around the league, there aren't that many that you would put even in the conversation in the top 10 in the NBA. Like Chris
Yeah.
Paul is obviously in the downside of his career.
Not
Another
this
great-
year and not in the bubble. Not this year and
Okay.
not in the
He's not
bubble.
a top 10 player, though.
Candidate, honestly. Look at that Thunder team.
He's
That's
a top
all I am.
25 player. He's not top 10. That's the only thing. I love Chris Paul. Well, for what he's done this year. I had never been a Chris Paul fan, actually. But I love that he stayed there, and he has honestly done things that no one else would have predicted this year. That team, him and the shooting guard,
Shy.
he's nasty. Gallinari, my boy Adams, one of my favorite players in the league. And who knows? And the good coach, Billy Donovan, actually has proven everyone wrong that he can coach without superstars.
He sure has. I mean, you talk about squeezing, and getting some juice out of I mean, talk about, life gives you lemons. Look what they've made out of Chris Paul and that team down there. You thought that when Chris Paul went there, you're like, oh man, poor Chris Paul. He ends up winning more games than they do in Houston, the team that he was on with two superstars. And he's surrounded by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he's got who's the guy coming off the Schroeder's coming off
Schroeder. The lightning
Don't
bolt.
forget Nader, my
Yeah.
boy.
I mean,
Nader. Oh, I hate that guy. Just because he wasn't good.
we've learned that
He's-
Justin
so
loves
bad.
guys to get like 5 minutes or less.
Yep.
Bull, he's on the MVP campaign for him. But anyway, yeah. I mean, I think if you're ranking the top guys, that you're looking at Luka, Damian, Chris Paul, and you're looking at Steph too. So I mean,
LeBron started a point guard this year. He's top 10.
yeah.
Pretty sure he's one.
I just never consider. I have a tough time considering LeBron an actual point guard. I mean, he's kind
He's
of
been a point guard his whole career as well.
yeah.
He's
Been a point forward. If he's had another guy, I mean, he used to with the Heat. He used to let what's his face walk the ball up. I mean, he's
Chalmers. In his early run in Cleveland, it's not like he let Damian Jones or Boogie Gibson take the ball up. It's not like he was letting other people run the offense. He's the closest thing to Peyton Manning on a basketball court. The offense has run through him since like 7th grade AAU.
I'm not agreeing with you. It's more like from a size standpoint. It's like hard to be like, this is a point guard. I don't know. I feel like we just always look at him as a small forward. When people compare him with Larry Bird and stuff, it's like you're comparing small forward. I feel like we just look
Magic
at
Johnson was a point guard. How big was he? 6'7", 6'8"? Yeah, exactly.
By the way, anyone hear about the big Steph Curry news that Under Armour is going to give him his own brand, the way that Nike gave Jordan his own brand? Anyone hear about that yet?
No, I didn't hear that, but that's
Big.
definitely a legacy move right there.
Yeah, that's why I still think I got to give Steph Curry #1. I mean, if he's getting his own brand like that from Under Armour, it's kind of a big deal, right?
He also ushered in this whole shoot. I mean, teams had to learn the Rockets are the Rockets because of Steph Curry. They focused on all those analytics. They hoist freaking 45 threes a night because of Steph Curry. They honestly do. I mean, Harden shoots 13 and a half himself a night. You can't even believe these stats, but it's all because of Steph Curry and what they can do.
Does anyone know like the story of him getting Under Armour? It was like because when Kent Bazemore was on the Warriors, they kept sending him boxes and boxes, and Curry's like, "What are these? What's this Under Armour stuff?" And finally, Kent Bazemore got Curry meeting with Under Armour, and that's how it really started. Like Kent Bazemore, the guy that got overpaid, and where is he now? Is he on the Hawks or he might be on? I don't know. Regardless, it's just crazy thinking about now he's getting his own brand.
I'm not going to lie. I once bought a pair of Steph Curry shoes. I did it. I know they're ugly, and they're honestly not very good shoes, but hey, I bought them because Steph was that dude.
I bet you they're better looking.
I hate
than
the Steph Curry shoes. I've never liked it. I feel like they look way up. I mean, spend a little time on them. Let's go.
Dirty.
Copy some of the old, Kobe's like everybody else has done.
Steph's going to work. It's going to work because he's like a cultural phenomenon in basketball, and he changed the game. So getting his own brand is going to be great. He's also easily marketable. He's what nobody really wants to say. Light-skinned. That makes it a little bit easier. But here's the deal about Steph Curry. And the analytics have ruined basketball and baseball because Lon Chango has made baseball unwatchable. And the 3-point shot has made a basketball it's made it more open, which is nice, so the athletes can be a little bit more good. They don't have to be as polished in a highly skilled game, become less skilled, minus the 3. But boy, is it harder to watch.
Yeah, I disagree. I think basketball is pretty exciting to watch, at least in the playoffs, man. I know regular season's kind of ticky-tacky, and there's something about playoff basketball where it's probably still just as fun to watch as ever. I know the fouls get a little bit annoying, but, I mean, it's still exciting. The athletes we get to see, like the athletic level in these teams is, I think, pretty substantially improved from what it used to be now.
Frank, I hear you on the fact that the 3-pointer is killing the game. Do you think free throws to all these guys too, the step back moves, some of these cheesy moves that Harden has, and guys shooting like 15 free throws a night, don't you think that hurts too?
Every superstar in the NBA takes shots that anybody growing up playing basketball at any other time but now would have been benched for. Those are bad shots. Analytics say that it's more important if you hit 1 out of 3 of these, it's better than 50% on 2s. Yeah, no, I get it. But it's much harder to watch. And bad shots have become commonplace, and it's okay. Now, if you're Steph Curry, that's fine. If you can shoot 38% from 45 feet, more power to you. If you're almost everybody else in the league, minus, Dame Lillard and maybe a handful of other players, you really shouldn't. If you're Marcus Smart, that's why it's ruled the game. Because if you're Marcus Smart, you should not be doing that. You should not be taking 6 threes a game. But that's what analytics have done. And if you're in Brad Stevens' system, you have to, because he wants you taking the open 3. And that's where it's ruined the game. Some of these guys should still be only taking it to the basket or backing down. You're not that type of player. But it forces people into that type of player. That's why Anthony Davis and Chris Bosh get moved into this big man who can back down. But really, they're going to stand in the quarter and shoot threes because they have another isolation player who's going to give them the ball and kick it out. That's what the game is now.
Yeah, it's really tough to watch, honestly. I mean, a lot of times with these guys and just all the 3-pointers, I mean, we talk about Houston. I've had a chance to watch them a little bit more in the bubble. And I mean, honestly, they're just so hard to watch with how many threes they launch. It's
7 seconds left. The ball's up.
Brutal. And it's like, if you're not hitting, then you have no chance. It's like they either murder teams or get murdered. There's no in between, because it's like you're either on or you're off. I mean, Austin Rivers is either scoring 41 or he's scoring 4, right? It's like there's no consistency there. That's the other thing I hate, is like it's low percentage on controlling the outcomes of the game.
I mean, I honestly love it. Let them go out there and jack threes. You ever just dribble up and let one fly from 10 feet beyond the arc? It feels good. It feels really good. Let them go. And those guys are making them enough where they can get away with it. So it is what it is. I like it. Let them shoot. I love nothing more than seeing someone have a crazy night like Marcus Smart did. Have what do you have? 13 threes? I mean, that was awesome to watch.
You like that?
Marcus Smart having
that was awesome to watch. Can I quote you on that? Marcus Smart 13 threes in a game was fun to watch.
It was watch paint dry.
Oh my God. Come on. You guys don't.
It's just like it's like encouraging someone to smoke cigarettes. It's like
no, he was unbelievable. That game.
It's like that terrible habit that you have. Yeah, why don't you just do that the entire game? I don't know. That was tough for me to watch. I don't want to encourage that guy to shoot at all. So whatever we can do to not encourage that would be great. He does play great defense, though, but I still don't think he should be up there for all defensive player. I like how they're making him earn it. I don't think he's had truly an all defensive year yet. Do you guys?
I think he's a few plays away from having an all defensive year this year, but he's the heart and soul of the Celtics team. It showed up when it mattered most.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's definitely been the heart and soul of the team, and he definitely is a defensive presence that is impossible to match. I mean, there's nobody else you can play that can give you what Smart can give you on the defensive end.
Yeah, he's short Draymond Green. He adds tremendous value. He's a net positive player for sure. But he's incredibly frustrating to watch. And we'll go as far as Jason Tatum takes us. And he's looked great. And the Celtics have looked good. They have looked good. I worry about eventually seeing Milwaukee. Toronto doesn't scare me. But Marcus Smart, if he was just a couple inches taller and you could actually stick him on Giannis for a longer extended period of time, that would be wildly useful. But
I think the Celtics, if they get past Milwaukee this year, it's not going to be more so Smart, it's going to be more so Gordon Hayward. I think if Gordon Hayward is putting up 20 a game and, when Kemba's out, him controlling the ball, him passing the ball, and not as much Marcus Smart, that's going to be the deciding factor for me. Because when Gordon Hayward's aggressive and when he's hitting those 2-point shots and getting everyone else shots, that's when the Celtics are at their best.
You're saying we should play Gordon Hayward?
I think we should, yes.
largely in that second unit, when we don't have Tatum in, when we don't have Kemba Walker in, I think we should run the ball through him as that third option, that third guy to run the offense.
I honestly think even when Kemba's out there, have Hayward bring the ball up. Because if Kemba can get open and hit a couple quick threes, it's more effective than Hayward trying to get open. Because he's more effective when he has the ball in his hands rather than just him getting the ball and shooting it. He's not that type of player. When he's aggressive and he's going to the hoop and passing to everybody else, that's when the Celtics ball movement, I think it's at its best.
Yeah, and we've seen him average about 15, 5, and 8 in the playoffs here. It's been really nice to watch him seem to get more of a burst athletically, seem to have a little bit more confidence. This team totally needs that. When they're right, they have 4 guys that can be scoring 20 points, and that's just deadly. So
4 guys that should be
4 guys that
20.
Yeah, 4 guys that should be averaging 20 points. So it's been great to see what he's been doing. I'd say him and the Time Lord have been the 2 greatest developments in aside from Kemba too. I mean, it's really been all positive. It's like everything needs to trend in the right way. Yeah, you've seen Kemba have a lot more bounce in his step. Everyone, quite frankly, seems to have a lot more bounce in their step. Jaylen Brown seems like a guy that definitely worked on his game in the offseason or in the pre-bubble session, whatever we want to call it here, because he's come back better than he was. To be honest, he had a tough night tonight against the Grizzlies, but I think that was the first tough night he's had in a while.
And the Gordon Hayward thing too, it's not like he was bad this year. Before he got hurt, when he hurt his wrist, I think he was playing actually lights out because Kemba was hurt, and he was the one leading the team in assists per game. And it was great to watch. Like, finally, we're getting the Gordon Hayward that we paid for, that we've been waiting to see. It's all about confidence with him. Sometimes he'll just sit back and pass the ball to somebody else. It's like, no, like when he's aggressive going to the hoop, he's like an 85% free throw shooter. Go to the hoop, get your points, or find somebody else to get an open shot. I think that's when the Celtics, are at their best.
Well, I think we all have to agree. Silence is acceptance. And that's going to do it for us here for time on Open Season. And we appreciate you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.